Will the budget hurt the poor? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to look at the first of many articles discussing different aspects of the federal budget. Now, we've gone through the budget on the channel here, and you can have a look at that video about an hour and a half. I think I did it last week. Check that one out if you hadn't. But, well, a lot of groups aren't going to receive that much of a benefit from this budget. And one group that's going to be hit quite hard are the poor in Australia. Now, I know a lot of people seem to believe that Labor is the working class party, the party of the poor, looking out for the little guy. We're not talking 80s Labor anymore, guys. We're not talking Labor from yesteryear. They have shifted a lot. It really feels like it when you look at some of their policies, when you look at how ideologically driven they are, when you look at the environmental anti-coal policies they're putting forward. Ludicrous. They're literally going to destroy the traditional base of their party. And, well, has this budget forgotten the poorest Australians? I would argue never trust any of the promises the government's put out there, particularly when it's campaign time. It's all completely meaningless. The only thing we should be pushing for is a scaling back of the size of government to hopefully reduce the burden they put on the citizens. And then, a big push for education into individual resilience and an appreciation of the fact that they're going to tell you any old bullshit to get into power, and it'll all be forgotten the moment they have it. Maybe I'm just getting a bit too old, guys. Maybe I've seen it too many times. Maybe I'm still waiting for no Australian child to be living in poverty. I'm still waiting. So let's look at this. How Australia's poor have been hardest hit, and this is from news.com.au. The country has always been known as one that gives everyone a fair go, but the reality is much more harsh with people set to suffer. Is Australia really the country anymore where you can get a fair go? It used to be. It certainly was. It was the lucky country. It was the country where people could immigrate to, and you could get a home, start a family. You could really lift yourself up in social strata, particularly if you were coming from the old world. Can you do that anymore? Australia's poor will suffer most as a result of new tax and welfare policies implemented in Labor's budget delivered this week, whilst the richest will win big, alarming new analysis has found. I still can't get over the fact that families earning $500,000 actually have access to some childcare subsidies. I mean, surely if you're banking that much money, you've got a good accountant, and you've set up systems to mitigate your tax burden, and maximize your cash. And you know what people are probably doing there. Here in Australia, there'll be negative gearing. At least one way. New modelling examined some of the flagship policies by the government in the government's first budget and revealed the top 20% of households will get an extra $12 billion a year in disposable income in 24-25. Now, if that's to do with the tax, the stage 3 tax cuts, that's because the higher earning households pay more tax, so they're going to get more benefits from tax deductions because they're burdened with more taxes. So, that's, if you want to have a progressive tax system, when you actually take some taxes away. I know that's not meant to happen, comrade, but occasionally we have to keep the proletariats in line. Those that are paying the most will get the best benefit. Higher income couples with children will receive a tidy benefit of $9,763 a year, compared to just $913 for lower income families. I need to update my tax impact calculator to look at the alternative of simply increasing the tax-free threshold. Why don't we lift that up? Why is it 18,000 and change? Why isn't it 50,000? Let's just do it. Just do it. Come on, let's just do it. Find a way to make it happen, everyone. You want to incentivize people to work. You want to get them earning, that first job, that first career step, and then they'll, move up and get more involved and stop being expecting the government to take care of them. Oh, maybe that's not what they want. Overall, every household in the top 20% score an extra $5,740 a year as a result of paid parental leave jumping to 26 weeks, the increase to childcare subsidies, and the controversial Stage 3 tax cuts. Bum, bum, bum. I mean, the childcare subsidies, that's because they want to keep women working. That's the main reason why they're pushing that. That's what Labor wants. They want you to be able to have your children and just put them in childcare. It's kind of sad, particularly with really young kids. It's sad where this is becoming, for some families, a necessity just to make ends meet or just even to try and get a bit ahead. The bottom 20% of households will only get an extra $40 million in disposable income in 24-25, adding up to a measly $17 a year, the modelling from the ANU found. Well, of course, because there's a huge disparity, everyone. The bottom, hang on, I'm bringing up here. The difference in household income is significant here in Australia. The class divide exists. We're an egalitarian society where people at the top earn significantly more than the people at the bottom. And with our progressive tax system, the people who are earning more are going to get more back. $17, a year, okay. Hey, it's still $17. For those in the top 20% of households who are couples, it was shown they will gain $4,360 benefit each year compared with just $3 for those in the lowest income. You know what I would love to see? Completely, 100% my own personal bias coming through here, that the education funding for each child goes directly to the family and you can deploy it how you wish. So if you happen to be, a homeschooling family, $20,000 you could get for each child, you could use that to hire a tutor for specific subjects. Or you could choose to pay it to the public school or the private school that you go to. Wouldn't that be, wouldn't that really shake up the education sector there? Why not? Give it a shot. Imagine that. I mean, just think about that. If I would just hire a tutor for specific niche things. And primary years, you don't need that much, and then you bank it up for high school. Shockingly, not that that'll ever happen. Maybe it should. Hey, we've got to plant the seeds. It won't happen in one generation. It may happen in two. Shockingly, even a lone person in the top 20% will benefit $3,500, while those in the lowest get absolutely nothing. Well, probably because they're not paying any tax. I mean, yeah, a single person without kids, they're not going to get advantage of the childcare subsidies. A family of 6, who like mine right here, who doesn't use any childcare, will get absolutely no benefit to childcare subsidies. Our neighbour up the street voted for Labor because she wants to take advantage of the childcare subsidies if she happens to have a kid in the next couple of years. So, I mean, it's a vote winner. That's why they did it. It won votes. So it makes sense. From Labor's perspective, it definitely makes sense. A single parent in the top 20% will be better off by compared to $6 for someone in the lowest income. I mean, who wrote this article? I have to look at it because, what do you expect, everyone? What do you expect? Combined, the three policies are worth more than $20 billion by 24-25. The ABC's Stan Grant has put the situation even more bluntly. Here's the hard reality of the budget the poor will pay, he wrote for ABC News. Well, aren't they getting rid of the lower and middle income tax offset, like the $1,400 or whatever? So yeah, the poor will pay. They're losing that. They need to up the tax-free threshold. They need to seriously lift that to incentivize people to work. Don't we want to have more money in the hands of the citizens? Well, no, actually, yes, we don't. We don't. We want a Labor government. We want more taxing. We want more state intervention in our lives. Australia isn't a libertarian, liberty-focused society. I think that's certainly been made clear for the last few years. The dirty little secret is that the government needs them to hurt to get inflation under control. Yeah, but will it? Will it? Will driving up the interest rates make a dent in supply-side inflation? How's it going to affect shipping costs? Shipping costs have gone down. It's got nothing to do with the interest rate here in Australia. It might impact the exchange rate of the Australian dollar, Is that what you want to do? Harsh yet, but that's the truth of a high inflationary cycle. With rising interest rates and a global downturn that will soon shrink the job markets here and slow our economy, the poor will pay because inflation is a tax on the poor. They will have to pay more to keep the lights on, to buy shoes for their kids, put fuel in the car, to keep the fridge stocked. God forbid they may want to buy a pizza and go to the movies occasionally. Now here's the thing. All of this, okay, sure, you've got inflation, but it's also going to be exacerbated by the shift to net zero, by the shift away from baseload power generated by fossil fuels to variable renewable energy using disposable technology with a huge embodied energy cost associated simply with trying to mimic some of the baseload deployable capacity of fossil fuel energy. That's going to impact all of these things. When electricity starts going up, because, when they're telling you, when the politicians are telling you it's all cheaper, it's all this, it's all bullshit. Because the methodology they use to measure the cost of electricity conveniently ignores all of the additional infrastructure you need to build to ensure you're still providing power when the sun isn't shining, or when it's cloudy, or when the wind stops. When you take those into account, then it doesn't look that rosy. So, that's what I'm thinking about, honestly. Now I'm dwelling on the next few years, what's going to happen here in Australia. Surely we can be aware and concerned about these things that are happening, but I don't think there's enough of a political will of sensible people in Australia to pull us back from the precipice of going down this green renewable disaster. And I think cost of living is certainly going to get more expensive in the next 10, 15 years. Australia is going to be a much more stratified society, guys. Sadly, it is. So as an individual, you've got to prepare for that. You've got to build buffers. You've got to get passive income streams. You've got to take care of your family. The modelling also showed that the Stage 3 tax cuts would decrease personal income tax revenue by $18.3 billion, while childcare subsidies will add $1.5 billion to the budget. Well, then, ditch the subsidies. The $243 billion tax cut program has previously been slammed for delivering tax cuts to billionaires and the wealthy and will turbocharge inequality and widen the gender pay gap. Adam Bant. Come on. Okay, if you earn 50 grand a year, you're getting a benefit from these Stage 3 tax cuts. Okay, not much, couple of hundred a year, but you're getting more money in your pocket. Now, do you want to sacrifice? Is keeping Adam Bant happy worth $150 to you if you're earning $50,000? Now, be honest. You can leave a comment here. No one's... you'll get judged, but no one will know. No one will care. Because I bet you most people would say, nah, I'd rather have the $150 than keeping Adam happy. Or shit, some people probably even pay more to keep him unhappy. Yeah. So, the richest 1% of Australians, and men in particular, will get as much benefit from the Stage 3 tax cuts as the poorest 63% combined. Shocking, new analysis has revealed. There's been repeated calls for the government to repeal the tax cuts for the rich. That will deliver a worker on 200 grand a year a whopping $9,000 tax cut because they pay so much. You know what? Let's have a talk about it. Here's one thing that, honestly, I am commending the Labor Party, the Albanese government, for standing around and committing to these tax cuts, because there's so much pressure coming from the media, leftist think tanks, the lefty establishment to cut these tax cuts, that they're standing their ground, and we have to commend them for that. Because if they fell on it, if they fell over and, we're cutting these tax cuts, that would boom, barely a few months in, and they're already lying. They're already breaking their promises. And that would be, Dutton would love that. He would love them to cut that, to get rid of those tax cuts. I wonder if they left it in there as a poison pill to potentially hurt their government instantly. I'm sure they'll find other ways to vacuum money out of everyone's pockets. But you know what would be interesting would be how many of those people earning 200 grand a year don't you think they're already using legal mechanisms to minimize their tax? We need to lift the minimum tax-free threshold. We really do. And this is the one advantage of these stage 3 tax cuts is a simplification of our taxation system. You want to have it more in line. You want the taxes people are paying on their dividends to be more in line with the majority of taxes people are paying as well on their income. So what do you reckon, guys? Has Labor forgotten the poor? Or is it, kind of a misrepresentation here once again that, well, it's the rich that are getting the big tax cuts? If Labor were really thinking of the poor, they would argue to increase the tax-free threshold. That's the argument I would make. Make that first few dollars you earn go even further. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Check out my other channels, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International. And if you're a fan and want to help us, there are a few ways you can. Financially on YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links, buying our merch, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.